There are moments in history that arrive without warning. Moments when the world changes forever. Not with the clash of armies, not with the crowning of a king, but with the quiet certainty that today will be just another ordinary day. On the morning of August 24, in the year 79 AD, the people of Pompeii woke exactly as they had the day before. No one believed they were living their final sunrise. No one imagined that by tomorrow, their homes would no longer exist. Their laughter would fall silent. Their city would vanish from the earth. And for nearly 17 centuries, the world would forget they had ever lived. This is the story of the last day of Pompeii. Before we witness the destruction, we must first understand what was lost. Pompeii was not a small village. It was one of the Roman Empire's most prosperous cities, nestled along the sparkling Bay of Naples in what is now southern Italy. To visitors arriving by sea, it looked almost perfect. Merchant ships crowded the harbor. White stone villas overlooked the coastline. Colorful gardens spilled over courtyard walls. Beyond the city rose a broad green mountain called Mount Vesuvius. It seemed peaceful, beautiful even. No smoke rose from its summit. No fire glowed beneath the stars. To the people of Pompeii, it was simply part of the landscape, a silent guardian watching over the city. No living person remembered seeing it erupt. Generations had been born beneath its shadow. Generations had died believing it was harmless. They could not know they were living on the side of one of the most dangerous volcanoes in Europe. As the first rays of sunlight crept across the rooftops, the city slowly came to life. Shopkeepers lifted heavy wooden shutters. The smell of freshly baked bread drifted through narrow stone streets. Blacksmiths stoked glowing furnaces. Farmers arrived from the countryside carrying baskets overflowing with grapes, figs, olives, and vegetables. Children raced across cobblestone roads, laughing as they chased one another between fountains and market stalls. Some hurried toward school. Others helped their parents prepare for another busy day. The streets echoed with dozens of languages spoken by merchants arriving from across the Roman world. Greek, Latin, Egyptian traders, Syrian sailors. Pompeii was more than a city. It was a crossroads of civilizations. For the wealthy, life was comfortable beyond imagination. Lavish villas surrounded open courtyards filled with flowers and fountains. Walls were painted with colorful frescoes depicting gods, myths, and scenes from everyday life. Private dining rooms overflowed with imported wines and exotic foods brought from every corner of the empire. Servants hurried through polished hallways preparing elaborate feasts. Roman aristocrats debated politics while musicians played softly nearby. Meanwhile, ordinary citizens crowded public baths. Steam filled vast chambers where strangers became friends. Business deals were negotiated. Gossip spread faster than official news. For Romans, the baths were not simply places to wash. They were the beating heart of society. Only a short walk away stood the amphitheater, one of the oldest surviving Roman amphitheaters ever built. Thousands gathered there to watch gladiators fight for glory. Some fought for freedom. Others fought because they had no choice. The roar of the crowd could be heard across the city. Entertainment was woven into daily life. To the people of Pompeii, Rome itself seemed eternal. Their city felt invincible. But beneath every street, beneath every temple, beneath every laughing child, something ancient was stirring. Nearly 3 miles below the Earth's surface, molten rock churned inside a vast underground chamber. Pressure had been building for centuries. With every passing hour, it grew stronger. The people above never heard it. They never felt the slow movement of magma forcing its way upward through cracks in the earth. Nature was preparing something beyond human imagination. Yet there had been warnings. 17 years earlier, a violent earthquake had struck Pompeii. Buildings collapsed, temples cracked apart, homes crumbled into the streets. Many believed the gods had punished them. Others simply rebuilt. Years passed. Life returned to normal. Even after smaller tremors continued to shake the city, most people stopped paying attention. Earthquakes had become part of everyday life. Like distant thunder before a storm, no one imagined they were connected to something far worse. On that final morning, dogs barked for no apparent reason. Birds suddenly abandoned their nests. Some farm animals became restless, refusing food and pulling violently against their ropes. Nearby wells behaved strangely. Water levels rose and fell without explanation. To modern scientists, these are familiar warning signs of volcanic activity. But in 79 AD, no one understood what they meant. There were no volcanologists, no emergency alerts, no satellites watching from space, no government evacuation plans, only ordinary people, living ordinary lives, unaware that every passing minute brought them closer to disaster. By late morning, the streets of Pompeii were more crowded than ever. The marketplace buzzed with voices. Merchants haggled over prices. Children laughed. Fresh loaves disappeared from bakery shelves. Travelers rested beneath shaded archways. Above them, Mount Vesuvius stood perfectly still, silent, patient, waiting. Then, just after midday, without warning, the mountain exploded. For centuries, Mount Vesuvius had stood silently over Pompeii. Its slopes were covered with vineyards. Its rich volcanic soil produced some of the finest wine in the Roman Empire. To the people below, it was simply another mountain. But beneath its calm exterior, the earth was tearing itself apart. Nearly 5 kilometers below the surface, molten rock, magma, had been trapped under immense pressure. Gas dissolved within the magma, unable to escape. With every passing year, the pressure grew stronger. The mountain wasn't sleeping, it was waiting. It was shortly after midday. The city was alive with the sounds of another ordinary afternoon. In the marketplace, merchants shouted over one another. Blacksmiths hammered glowing iron. Children chased each other between the fountains. The smell of roasted meat drifted through narrow streets. Nothing seemed unusual, until the ground began to tremble. At first, no one panicked. Small earthquakes had become common since the devastating quake 17 years earlier. People paused, looked around, then returned to their work. But this time, the shaking did not stop. Suddenly, a deafening explosion ripped across the sky. People looked toward Mount Vesuvius, and what they saw was unlike anything any Roman had ever witnessed. The summit of the mountain had been blasted apart. A massive column of ash, volcanic rock, and superheated gas shot upward with unimaginable force. It climbed higher and higher until it pierced the clouds. Modern scientists estimate the eruption column reached between 20 and 30 kilometers into the atmosphere. From miles away, it looked like an enormous pine tree ash, a towering trunk rising into the heavens before spreading outward into giant branches of ash. The Roman writer Pliny the Younger, who watched the eruption from across the Bay of Naples, later described exactly that shape in a letter that survives to this day. It is because of his eyewitness account that eruptions like this are now called Plinian eruptions. Within minutes, the sky began to change. Bright blue daylight faded into an eerie gray. Ash drifted gently at first. Some people stretched out their hands, watching the strange flakes settle on their skin. Children laughed. Some thought it was snow. Others believed the gods were sending a warning. No one understood that this was only the beginning. Then the stones began to fall. Not tiny grains of ash, but pieces of white volcanic pumice, some as large as fists. They crashed onto rooftops, shattered tiles, smashed windows. People screamed and ran for cover. The streets that had been filled with laughter only moments earlier erupted into chaos. Shopkeepers abandoned their businesses. Mothers searched frantically for their children. Animals broke free from their pens and raced wildly through the city. The peaceful afternoon had become a desperate fight for survival. Every minute, the rain of pumice grew heavier. Ash coated the roads. Footprints disappeared almost as quickly as they were made. Visibility shrank. Breathing became difficult. People wrapped pieces of cloth around their mouths, hoping to keep the ash from filling their lungs. Many believed they could simply wait inside their homes until the eruption ended. They had survived earthquakes before. Surely this would pass. But Mount Vesuvius had only just begun releasing its fury. Hour after hour, the city disappeared beneath a blanket of volcanic debris. Roofs groaned under the crushing weight. Some collapsed without warning, trapping entire families beneath them. Others escaped into the streets, only to find that every path out of the city was becoming more dangerous. The roads leading toward the countryside were buried beneath deep piles of pumice. Walking became exhausting. Every step sank deeper into the ash. Those carrying children, or elderly relatives, moved painfully slowly. Many fled toward the harbor. The sea had always been Pompeii's lifeline. Perhaps ships could carry them to safety. But nature had turned against them there as well. Powerful earthquakes shook the coastline. The sea behaved strangely. Some ancient accounts suggest that the shoreline temporarily retreated, exposing parts of the seabed before surging back. Boats struggled to approach. Escape by water became increasingly difficult. For countless families, there was nowhere left to run. As afternoon turned to evening, the sun disappeared completely, not because night had fallen, but because the ash cloud had become so thick that daylight could no longer penetrate it. The city was swallowed by darkness. Not ordinary darkness, a darkness so complete that people could not see the faces of those standing beside them. The only sounds were cries for help, prayers, collapsing buildings, and the relentless roar of the mountain. Some begged the Roman gods for mercy. Others believed the end of the world had arrived. Parents held their children tightly. Friends refused to let go of one another's hands. No one knew what would happen next. They thought they had already witnessed the worst. They were wrong, because high above the city, the towering eruption column was beginning to collapse. And when it did, it would unleash something far more deadly than falling ash. A force so hot, so fast, that no human being could outrun it. The final hours of Pompeii were about to begin. Darkness. Not the darkness of night, but the darkness of a world being swallowed alive. Hours earlier, Pompeii had been a thriving Roman city. Now, its streets were buried beneath meters of volcanic stone. The air was thick with ash. Every breath burned the lungs. The city that had once echoed with merchants, musicians, and children had become a place of fear. Inside their homes, families huddled together. Some believed the walls would protect them. Others covered their faces with damp cloth, hoping to filter the choking ash. Outside, the streets had almost disappeared. Every step became a struggle. Ash reached people's ankles, then their knees. In some places, it piled higher than a grown man's waist. Roofs collapsed one after another beneath the crushing weight of volcanic debris. Those trapped inside had little chance of escape. Across the Bay of Naples, a young Roman named Pliny the Younger watched the catastrophe unfold from a safe distance in Misenum. Years later, he described the eruption in letters that remain among the most important eyewitness accounts from the ancient world. He wrote of darkness, not like a moonless night, but like a room with the lamps put out. People screamed, some prayed, some believed the gods had abandoned humanity. Others thought the end of the world had arrived. As midnight approached, the eruption entered its deadliest phase. High above Pompeii, the enormous column of ash that had towered over the mountain for hours could no longer support itself. Without warning, it collapsed. What followed was unlike anything the people below had ever imagined. A pyroclastic flow, not lava, something far more deadly. A roaring avalanche of superheated gas, volcanic ash, and shattered rock. It rushed down the slopes of Mount Vesuvius at incredible speed. Modern studies suggest some of these flows traveled at well over 100 kilometers per hour, with temperatures reaching several hundred degrees Celsius. No horse could outrun it. No soldier could fight it. No family could escape it. The first wave swept through the nearby town of Herculaneum. Within moments, hundreds of people sheltering near the shoreline were overcome. For centuries, their remains remained exactly where they had sought refuge, silently preserving the tragedy for future generations. Pompeii's turn came soon after. The burning cloud surged toward the city. It leapt over walls. It poured through streets. It entered homes. There was nowhere left to hide. For many, death came almost instantly. The extreme heat and suffocating gases overwhelmed those still in the city. Others had already succumbed to collapsing buildings or the relentless ashfall. By sunrise, Pompeii was silent. The city that had awakened to birdsong only the day before no longer existed. Its streets, its temples, its theaters, its markets, its homes, all disappeared beneath layers of volcanic ash and pumice. Mount Vesuvius had buried an entire city. But this is where the story becomes extraordinary. Unlike many ancient disasters, Pompeii was not erased by fire alone. It was sealed. The thick volcanic deposits covered buildings, furniture, food, tools, artwork, and everyday objects. In many places, even wooden doors and loaves of bread were preserved. It was as though time itself had stopped. The city became a silent capsule, waiting nearly 17 centuries for someone to uncover it again. Yet perhaps the most heartbreaking discoveries were not the buildings, but the people. When archaeologists excavated Pompeii centuries later, they found hollow spaces in the hardened ash where human bodies had once lain. As the victims' remains decomposed over time, they left empty cavities in the volcanic deposits. In the 19th century, archaeologist Giuseppe Fiorelli developed a remarkable technique. He carefully filled these cavities with liquid plaster. When the surrounding ash was removed, the final moments of Pompeii's citizens appeared before the world. A mother shielding her child, a man clutching a small bag of belongings, friends lying beside one another, people frozen forever in their last attempt to survive. These were not statues. They were the final impressions of real human lives. Lives interrupted in a single night. Nearly 2,000 years have passed since Mount Vesuvius erupted. Yet when we look into the faces of those plaster casts, history no longer feels distant. It feels deeply personal, because beneath the ash were people just like us. People who laughed, who dreamed, who worried about tomorrow, never knowing tomorrow would never come. When the sun finally rose over the Bay of Naples, there was no city left to greet it. Where bustling streets had once echoed with laughter, there was only silence. Where merchants had opened their shops, there was only ash. Where children had played, there was only emptiness. Pompeii had vanished, not destroyed beyond recognition, but buried completely. For days, Mount Vesuvius continued to release ash and volcanic debris across the surrounding countryside. Survivors who had escaped could do nothing but watch from a distance. Their homes, their possessions, their memories were gone. Some searched desperately for missing loved ones. Others refused to believe anyone could have survived beneath so much ash. Eventually, they stopped searching. Life had to go on. The Roman Empire rebuilt elsewhere. New towns emerged. Trade resumed. Generations were born, generations died, and slowly, the memory of Pompeii faded. Within a few decades, nature began reclaiming the land. Rain hardened the volcanic ash into stone. Grass pushed through the soil. Trees took root. Fields covered what had once been elegant Roman streets. Farmers unknowingly planted crops above buried villas. Children played above forgotten temples. Entire generations walked across the landscape, never realizing that beneath their feet, an entire city lay perfectly preserved. Centuries passed. The Roman Empire itself collapsed. Kings rose. Kingdoms fell. The Middle Ages came and went. The Renaissance transformed Europe, yet Pompeii remained hidden. Its people, its homes, its stories, locked beneath the earth for nearly 17 centuries. It was as though history itself had chosen to preserve one single day, waiting for the right moment to reveal it. Then, in the 18th century, everything changed. In 1748, workers digging in the area uncovered something unexpected: a stone wall, then another. As excavation continued, roads appeared, buildings emerged, paintings still decorated the walls, furniture remained where it had been left. The deeper archaeologists dug, the more astonishing the discoveries became. It wasn't merely ruins, it was a city, frozen in time. Imagine opening the door of a house, only to discover that its owner had left nearly 1,700 years earlier. Bread still rested inside ovens. Cooking pots remained on stoves. Wine jars stood exactly where they had been placed. Coins lay scattered across floors. Graffiti still covered walls. One inscription even advertised a gladiator event, as if inviting spectators to a show that would never happen. Pompeii wasn't simply an archaeological site. It was a snapshot of everyday Roman life. For historians, it was like opening a time capsule. For the world, it was one of the greatest discoveries in human history. But the most moving discoveries came later. As archaeologists carefully removed layers of hardened ash, they noticed strange hollow spaces beneath the ground. At first, no one understood what they were. Then, in 1863, Italian archaeologist Giuseppe Fiorelli made a remarkable decision. Instead of ignoring the empty spaces, he poured liquid plaster into them. When the plaster hardened and the surrounding ash was removed, the world gasped. Before them were the final shapes of Pompeii's victims. Not sculptures, not artistic recreations, but the last impressions left by real human beings. A child curled into a ball, a couple embracing one another, a man shielding his face, another clutching a small pouch. perhaps believing it held everything he needed to survive. In their final moments, status no longer mattered. The wealthy died beside the poor, merchants beside servants, parents beside children. Before the power of nature, everyone was equal. Today, nearly 2,000 years after the eruption, millions of people visit Pompeii every year. They walk the same stone streets once traveled by Roman citizens. They stand inside homes where families gathered for meals. They look upon the preserved bakeries, theaters, temples, and marketplaces. And they pause before the plaster casts, not because they are looking at history, but because they are looking at humanity. Pompeii teaches us something that no textbook ever could. Civilizations may seem permanent. Cities may appear indestructible. People often believe tomorrow is guaranteed. But history tells a different story. Empires rise. Empires fall. Mountains remain silent until they don't. And sometimes, the ordinary moments we barely notice become the last moments we ever have. Pompeii was buried in a single day, but because it was buried, it was also preserved. The volcano that destroyed the city accidentally protected its story. And today, nearly 20 centuries later, those silent streets still speak, not with words, but with a warning, to remember, to appreciate the present, and to never forget the lives that came before us. Because history is not made of dates. History is made of people. People who laughed. People who loved. People who dreamed. People just like us. Every stone has a story. Every ruin has a voice. And every century hides truths waiting to be uncovered. This has been the Untold Century. Until our next journey into the past, remember, history is never truly gone. It is simply waiting to be told. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed uncovering the mystery of Pompeii with me, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more true historical stories, and share this video with someone who loves history. What historical event should we explore next? Leave your suggestion in the comments, and I'll see you in the next story.